and fly past. These aircraft are no further than 3 meters from each other during a whole display. And at times we'll get within 1 meter of each other. Bit of information about the aircraft. You can see that's the Pilatus PC-9, built in Switzerland and delivered to Australia in 1990. They're used as the advanced trainer for students on pilot's course, as well as forward air control aircraft located at RAAF Base Wellington in Newcastle.
As they're going through these maneuvers, you mentioned that they're only 3 meters apart, sometimes getting to as close as a meter apart. And the surprising thing is, with all this happening, there's only one guy who's looking straight ahead.
That's exactly right, Joe. Roulette leader, you can see, is out the front, squadron leader Steve Baker. He's got his eyes out the whole time, making sure that they don't break any height limitations. Also looking out for any obstacles or birds or potentially other aircraft that can enter the display area. Obviously, in this case, it's very well controlled, but he has to keep a constant lookout to make sure that everything's nice and safe. All other 5 pilots are doing nothing but looking at the they have virtually no awareness of what height they're flying at, and sometimes not even exactly sure what maneuver they're flying at. It sounds a little bit like they're out of practice, but roulette leader will guide them through the whole display. These guys know the display inside and out, but they're relying on him to provide all the audio cues for the maneuvers they're flying and also position changes throughout the display. And Steve Baker is demonstrating the capability of the Pilatus PC-9 beautifully by inducing a force of 4 to 5 times the force of gravity. So with all their flying equipment, they're weighing in at around 400 kilograms in the cockpit. Working very, very hard today. The Roulettes are now positioning out to your right, ladies and gentlemen, and setting up for what we call the Leaders Benefit Flypast.
I understand that in terms of flying, not everybody has the same load being put on them in terms of how hard the flying is.
That's right, Joe. The most difficult position, well, I guess the most responsible position is Roulette 1, but the most difficult flying positions are given to the second and third most experienced pilots, Roulette 5 and 6, who, as they go into the Leaders Benefit Flypast now, are on the far extremes, the left and right of the formation. Because they're so far away from the leader when they're doing these maneuvers, they have to cover further distance. And in doing so, they must apply full power and anticipate covering more distance. And so they're definitely working harder than any other pilots in the formation.
Now that formation we saw going past, what was the historical significance of that?
Sure, so that was the Leaders Benefit Flypast, and that's a tribute to our very first roulette leader, Squadron Leader Phil Dunn, who first led the team in 1971. So that's over 40 years ago, so the Roulettes have been around for that long. And before them, their predecessors were the Telstars, who flew the Vampire jet aircraft. So there's a very long history and tradition and prestige with aerobatic display flying within the Royal Australian Air Force. So they're now in the 6-pack formation. Again, Roulettes 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 are in a very difficult line of rest position with Roulettes 1 and 4. So they're looking 90 degrees to their left and right as they pull up for this manoeuvre, pulling around 4 to 5 G. So it's quite an uncomfortable manoeuvre on their necks and on their heads and shoulders. But again, they're doing just a perfect job today. As they come over the top of the whip, you can see them splitting into the twin Vic formation. And again, we'll perform another flypast before Roulettes 5 and 6 will detach from the rest of the formation for their own special manoeuvres.
Now you spoke about all the stresses that go along with flying this, but I have a strange feeling it's something that these guys would rather do than their usual jobs.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute passion we all have, and I think that all aviators share. Yeah, they're working very, very hard up there, but anybody in a race car is working very hard and I think enjoying themselves as well. It's like flying, it's like being on a roller coaster, but you have absolute control over the thing the whole time, and it's something we absolutely love to do. And as you said, Joe, on their normal jobs, these guys are all qualified flying instructors who teach already qualified pilots how to be flying instructors. They each have over between 3 and 5,000 hours flying experience, making them some of the most experienced and skilled pilots in the Air Force. As you can see now, ladies and gentlemen, Roulettes 5 and 6 are coming in for what we call the roulette mirror. There is no illusion to this maneuver. Roulette 5 is directly above Roulette 6. These aircraft are 10 metres long, so you can, if you use your imagination a little bit, you can see the tails are around about 1.5 metres to 2 metres from each other. And roulettes 1 and 1 through 4 running into what we call the corkscrew. With roulette 1 inverted, roulette 4 flies barrel rolls around the rear of the formation.
And is it right that during this formation, some of them can't see each other?
Exactly. So when roulette 1 rolls inverted, he loses sight of roulettes 2 and 3. And as roulette 4 is doing the barrel rolls, he does lose sight of the rest of the formation. And again, surely they'll be setting up for what we call the wedge to Vulcan rollbacks, and which involves roulettes 2 and 3 and 5 and 6 respectively, pulling up and away from the formation. And at that time, they do lose sight of every other aircraft. So they have to time it just right and make sure that the rate of roll is exactly perfect, or otherwise too much, and they could potentially come flying back into the formation and collide with the other aircraft. And not enough, and the display falls apart, so they've got to time it just right. Here they are back in the wedge formation. Roulettes 5 and 6 have joined the team. Now they're moving from the wedge into the delta formation, which is basically the delta formation 180 out. Roulettes 2 and 3 are at the front row, 90 degrees off to roulette leader, and again they're in that difficult line abreast position, so looking directly left and right. It's very hard to maintain that position, and they're flying it very well today. The smoke you can see today, ladies and gentlemen, is generated by spraying a mineral oil and diesel mix into the hot exhaust gases where it's vaporized. This is a modification put onto these aircraft once they enter service with the roulettes. And there's a 30-litre oil tank located just in front of the tail, and they'll go through pretty much all those 30 litres in a display like this. So there's a lot going forward to the exhaust gas, and in terms of fuel, these aircraft will go through around about 300 pounds during the display. So if you can imagine a garden hose flat out, that's about as quick as the fuel is going into the engines. And here's that wedge to Vulcan rollback I was talking about, where the pilots go completely blind on the rear of the formation. But again, they've done a perfect job today.
How did the roulettes get to Singapore?
That is a long story, Joe, but I'll keep it as short as I can. It was we took off just near Melbourne in Victoria in southern Australia. It took us 5 days and 11 fuel stops to get here, so we don't quite have the range of something like the C-17. So after about 2 hours of flying, we're just about out of fuel, so that's as far as we can go. So as I said, it took us about 5 days to get here, and it's a round trip of about 7,200 miles, but well and truly worth the trip to put on a wonderful display for our friends in Singapore, and also meet a lot of our friends from Malaysia, America, and also some natives like Tony Blair, so it's well and truly worth the trip, and we look forward to many more in the future. As you can see now, ladies and gentlemen, they're doing a barrel roll in the Vulcan formation, and this is the manoeuvre that roulettes 5 and 6 complain about the most, because as you can see, they're flying the most track miles through the air, and again have to anticipate that full power change to make sure that they maintain in perfect position. I personally don't see what they're complaining about. They seem to have done a perfect job today.
Now, unlike many of the aircraft that you saw today, which were designed for military purposes and therefore kind of the colors are more subdued, they're designed not to be seen, the roulettes have a different objective, don't they?
That's right. We actually have the same colour scheme that we use on pilot's course as well. And really the whole point of that is for maximum visibility, not only for audiences in a display, but also other pilots in the training area that we all use on pilot's course. And again, they just look beautiful from the air and from the ground.
Some of the most beautiful photographs from this airshow have been of the roulettes.
That's right, the PC-9 is just a beautiful aircraft. It's beautiful inside and out, and even more beautiful to fly. It's just an absolute dream machine. It's capable of high speed on the deck down to about 150 feet is what we train to fly, and all the way up to around about 25,000 feet. So they've got a great range, and they're just a dream to fly at all altitudes and pretty much at all speeds as well. So the roulettes themselves, as I said, they're all qualified flying instructors. But not only that, we all come from operational backgrounds. So these are fully operational pilots, And we come from all different types of backgrounds, such as the airlift group, which fly the C-130, the C-17, and we also come from maritime backgrounds, and also the fast jet world, flying the F-18 Hornet.
I'd imagine with the great degree of trust you have to have with each other, how much of the personal lives intertwine? You guys live near each other and have a barbecue once in a while?
We absolutely do. We come from a small town in Sale where the Roulettes are based, and when we're not flying and we're not on deployments away, there's always a barbecue in somebody's backyard, and we all like to socialise. We all get along very well, so which is an absolute must for a team such as this with a lot of trust. We need to know each other very well and anticipate each other's moves. So they're now setting up for the grand finale, the Roulette Cascade. Have your cameras rolling, ladies and gentlemen. This is my favourite part of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for having us here at Singapore. We've had a fantastic time flying our display for you.